Hey guys, Chris from Atomic Facepalm, and this time on Byte-Sized Review, we go over Strafe! So, Strafe, not much of a plot to speak of. It's really just based off of retro games such as Quake 1, Quake 2, and a little bit of Doom, but it has that same retro style from the late 90s. Overall, if you're into those kind of games, this really tries to draw you back into them. It's inspired by them, but it does a lot of things differently, and sadly, not necessarily for the better. Again, jumping right into the graphics here, you can see that it's very pixelated. There really aren't many video options to speak of. There's a few in-jokes when you get into the settings menu. So yeah, the marketing was really good in the game. They had some really cool 90s marketing videos with these over-the-top action sets, so that was neat. But the game itself, let's get into it. You pick one of 3 weapons to start the game. So you have your shotgun, machine gun, and railgun energy pulse weapon thing, like a long-range kind of weapon. They're varied, but they don't really have that punch that you want. They don't have that kind of tactile feedback or this loud, resonating sound that goes with them. They just kind of sound like Nerf guns, which is a little strange, and they don't really stand out. It's not like the Super Nail Gun, which had 9-inch nail ammo from Quake. It doesn't have a BFG that I know of anyway. This game is really hard, so I couldn't get that far into it. So a little weird off the bat. Now, you pick one of these weapons, and you start your run through. So this game is permadeath. That means that after you run out of your health and your energy, you're dead, and everything you've got up to that point is gone. There's no permanent progression. It's not like you put whatever sort of currency you collect into your skills, and you keep those skills, and you get more powerful as you go on. No, not in this game. Just one run and you're dead. So you get your main weapon. You have a pretty good chunk of ammo to start with, and you go through the game. The levels are procedurally generated, totally randomized. For the most part, they're okay, but for me, it was very hit or miss. It doesn't look like it's random palettes where they shouldn't be, or textures kind of overlaid over the other. No, it's just a really maze-like, kind of uninspired level. Randomized levels work well for games like Darkest Dungeon or Dead Cells. Really your side-scrolling games, I feel like. Doing randomized levels in a first-person shooter is just damn jarring. It's not executed very well. So the problem is, you can start at one level and it's really short and there's not that many enemies, but you do the same level on a different run and it just kicks your ass. And it doesn't really make sense where things are. Sometimes you take an elevator to the top and it's just a wall, a dead end, which is what happens when you randomize levels. So for me, that was not a great part of it, and sadly, that's a huge section of the game. So I don't know, guys. I think it would have been better in this circumstance if maybe they really handcrafted the levels and decided to do something different with the enemies, or maybe they still had the permadeath, but they didn't have the randomized levels. Kind of an odd choice there. You can pick up other weapons as you go through the game. There's a grenade launcher. There's a hand nail gun that's pretty accurate. There's a lot of other weapons like that, but they only have 5 or 10 shots apiece. And then when you run out of ammo, you can kind of throw them at enemies and they explode. That's pretty cool. But for the most part, you have your main weapon. And it gets redundant because you're going through most of the game with that weapon. You can upgrade it here and there if you collect enough scrap, or if you find a little vending machine, you give the little helpful robot your weapon, he plays with it, and you get a randomized upgrade back, which can be good or bad. You can also go to upgrade stations, and you can buy energy for your armor. And armor, by the way, goes down really fast in this game. Or you can get more ammo, and that's kind of it. Or you can revert your original weapon back to what it was before you had it tinkered with. Health. Once your energy is gone, your health goes down really fast, and there's a lot of bad guys. So it really get a couple that pile onto you, and it's game over. Not much health at all in this game, and weirdly, when you finish a level or a section, you don't get your health back, which is really, really strange. A lot of weird decisions in this game. Even in the recent game Dead Cells that came out, sure, you have your hard level, and man, you don't have much life afterwards, but it refills your life. So the next level, you start out fresh. Not in this game. Your weapons are really inaccurate to start. Now, for a shotgun, makes total sense. Spread weapon, right? So long range, it's crappy. Up close, doesn't matter. You fire from the hip. Machine gun 2, you spray and pray. What's weird, though, is the railgun, it fires slowly, and it does big damage. But you have a little circle, and you kind of can hit anywhere in that little circle, which is a really strange way to give you a sniper weapon. So I use that weapon a lot because it's really powerful, but I didn't like that you couldn't really aim with it that reliably. Again, you can collect scrap and other things to upgrade your accuracy a little bit, but not enough to make really that big of a difference. So even though I wanted to use the railgun, I was going, well, it's not very accurate. So maybe I go back to the machine gun, but that's not that strong. So I go back to the shotgun. That thing, getting up close to enemies in this game is kind of suicide because they don't rely on any sort of AI other than just swarm you, right? It's trash mobs for the most part. There's a few more powerful enemies, but really it's just they see you, they run after you, and they hit you, which is disappointing too. It feels more like a tower defense strategy than a first-person shooter. So that's not inspired by Quake. Quake and Quake 2, you didn't have swarms of enemies coming after you. In Doom, here and there in a monster closet in a room, but not all at once. So I guess that was their way of kind of modernizing it a little bit. And again, I don't feel like it works because sometimes you'll have a few enemies and you can manage them. Other times there's hidden closets because again, it's randomized levels. So there's like little pockets of enemies hidden around everywhere. You go around a corner, you're fighting some guys, all of a sudden you're getting just destroyed from behind. That would work if there was really strong audio clues telling you they're behind you, but it seems unfair when you just get hit and you had no idea what was coming, especially in a permadeath game. And speaking of that, going back to the level design, it's like sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes you start off and you're in a narrow corridor, you can't get out of that corridor, you can only go straight ahead, and there's like 50 bad guys coming right at you. What do? You have to shoot them, but if you have limited ammo, or you can try and jump over them, I guess, but they end up just massacring you. And it's not your fault. It's not because you have a lack of skill. You can't say, well, I made a poor judgment call there. No, you just spawned, and they came right at you and killed you. Not fun. And in fact, really annoying. And it happened to me a lot more than once, so it's not just coincidence. Like really crappy randomized levels and a bunch of monsters put at a really bad spot. Maybe it'll get patched. There's already been quite a few patches to this game because oddly enough, there's performance dips like at the end of the level, and this is a game that a Voodoo 4 card could run. So that's a little bizarre. And there was a couple bugs. I've had a few bugs that crashed the desktop. I had a bug where my character fell through the floor like an old-fashioned level clip, which I thought might have been like an in-joke, but it literally broke my game. So that's a pretty hardcore joke if that's the case. Also, one glaring omission, no saves. I don't get that at all. You can have saves in roguelikes or roguelikes. Like for example, Dead Cells again. You can save in that and you can just continue your run. It's not like you're quick saving to avoid a fight. Guys, this is a long game. If I do levels 1 through 2, which is like, I don't know, an eighth of the game, that's 3 hours on average. So you expect me to play this for 13 hours straight if I get all the way through? Bizarre. Maybe this stuff will come in a patch. I hope it does. There are health pickups here and there. Not enough of them. And sometimes they'll spawn like a couple right next to each other. Sometimes they spawn them in places that make no sense, like on top of environmental hazards or little acid pits. So I think what this game really needs is more health, refillable health after you beat a level, cheaper ways to get armor because it costs a ton of scrap to get even a tiny bit. And it just needs really, I think, you can't do this since the game's already out, but if they had handcrafted the levels instead of just creating this level generator, I know what they're trying to do. They want it to be roguelike or roguelike or whatever the hell you want to call that system where, you've got that permadeath, and then because of the permadeath, you've got to put in this other element that's part of those games. But why? Don't do that. Make your own game. Yeah, be inspired by these old cool games, but don't just shove in a mechanic like that. Not in a situation like this. It ends up harming the experience overall. Okay, overall pluses, and we'll do minuses right after. Pluses, it is kind of fun at times. I definitely felt myself having an enjoyable experience here and there. And I like what they tried to do, which is to try and get people aware of the forefathers of modern shooters. The music is pretty good too. There is an option to disable the soundtrack, which I wouldn't recommend, but the music is decent. Again, reminds a lot of that sort of heavy metal from Doom and Quake and Quake 2. It's also inexpensive and a very small download, so you could probably download this with a dial-up modem. So the minuses, and I'm not going to pile it on too thick here, just a quick synopsis. It's too hard, not hard because of a challenge for skill level. It's too hard because of the artificial layers of difficulty. Bad level placement, poor locations for spawning enemies, such as right when you begin a new level, and again, no way to really refill your health if you get hit by one of those unfortunate circumstances, which is a bummer. The guns aren't great either. The variety is okay. You've got your typical weapons that were around back when this game is trying to hearken to, but I felt like it needed a lot of creativity, and they needed something to differentiate each weapon significantly from the other, and I don't feel like it really accomplished that. So it would have been cool to see, for example, I don't know, a gun that shoots chainsaw blades, or something like the BFG that shoots these giant projectiles but eats up a lot of ammo, or I don't know, a melee option where you have two giant blades and they're really powerful up close. Just something to really make it a lot different, because really the playstyle between a machine gun and the shotgun and the railgun in this game are not that dissimilar, because for the most part you don't want to get hit, so you're always backing up and then shooting basically, and then long range really isn't an option because, again, not much accuracy, so you're always kind of at mid-range to close. The overall reason, which is something my brother came in and he saw me playing this, it was okay, that's cool, yeah, it looks like Quake, but why would I play this game instead of Quake? I don't have an answer to that, and I think that's Strafe's biggest problem right now. Is, sure, it's inspired by some of those old games, and they tried to make it like permadeath and put that unique element into it, but you can still download Quake and Quake 2 on Steam, and they're incredibly playable to this day. So why would I go and play this game when I could just have a ton of fun, way more fun, in those games? Again, I don't have an answer for that, and that's really tough. This game needs something more, and it hurts to say that because I love seeing an indie developer such as this go after what is my favorite game of all time on the PC anyway, which is Quake 1. Like, it draws me in, but I want something more. I wanted maybe something that was Quake plus something else, but instead we just get this weird sort of genre of roguelike and permadeath just kind of slapped in there with some randomized levels. I don't like saying negative things like that, but it's just, again, when someone asks you, should I play Quake or should I play this game, and you don't have an answer, it's pretty telling of what the experience is. And that's really what I think of it overall. It's would I recommend it? It's a tough one for me. I don't think so. It's tough because it's cheap, it's a quick download, but again, I can't in good conscience say, buy this game because it has, I mean, every game has bugs these days. This is pretty significant bugs. And again, you can play some of these older retro games that are freely available, not free, but they're available on Steam or where else, Good Old Games, for example, and you can get them for cheap. Play those instead. And maybe something will change in Strafe, but as of right now, sorry guys, gotta say, I'd pass on this one. So, thank you for tuning in. You can go ahead and leave a comment below if you'd like to let us know what you think of Strafe or any games along this sort of line. You can follow us on Twitter and go ahead and let us know if you want to see more. So until next time, good luck and have fun.